Chosen one, this message arrives at the exact moment heaven ordained. Not a second too early, not a breath too late. You feel it, don't you? That heaviness in your chest, that knowing in your bones that something is shifting, something is ending. Something you've held onto with bleeding fingers is finally being pried away by divine hands. This is not cruelty. This is mercy dressed as goodbye. What you're about to read will shatter illusions you've nursed for years, but it will also set you free in ways your wounded heart cannot yet imagine. God has made a decision about your life, and it involves letting go of what you thought was permanent. The relationship you've been praying would heal, the position you've been fighting to maintain, the dream you've been resurrecting every morning despite its obvious death. Heaven is orchestrating an unexpected goodbye, and your soul already knows it's coming. That's why you're here, reading these words with a mixture of dread and relief flooding your veins. You've been the warrior, the holder, the one who refused to quit when everyone else would have walked away. But chosen one, sometimes the greatest act of faith is not holding on, but letting go. Sometimes God's protection comes disguised as rejection. Sometimes His promotion requires your surrender. Isaiah 43:18-19 declares, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? The new cannot birth while you're still nursing the dead." This goodbye that's approaching, this divine severance that heaven has already signed, it's not about your failure. You didn't love wrong. You didn't try too little. You didn't miss some secret formula that would have changed everything. No, this ending is scripted by the same hand that wrote your beginning. The same God who opened this door is now closing it. Not to punish you, but to position you for something your current attachment would never allow you to receive. For months, maybe years, you've been in a spiritual tug-of-war. Part of you sensing the end, another part desperately constructing reasons to continue. You've become an architect of excuses, a master of rationalization. You've painted red flags green and called dysfunction destiny. But deep in your spirit, beneath the layers of hope and hurt, you've known. You've felt the absence even in the presence. You've tasted the bitter where sweet should have been. You've been grieving something that's still physically there, but spiritually departed long ago. The person who's about to exit, the opportunity that's about to close, the chapter that's about to end. They serve their purpose. They were never meant to be permanent fixtures, but temporary teachers. They came to reveal, not to remain. They came to prepare you, not to partner with you forever. And now that their assignment in your life is complete, heaven is calling them away. Not because you failed the test, but because you passed it. You learned what you needed to learn. You grew how you needed to grow. You discovered strengths you never knew existed because of the pressure they applied. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." This season is ending, chosen one. Not because you didn't pray hard enough, fast long enough, or believe strong enough. It's ending because its time has come. The expiration date written in heaven has arrived. And fighting against divine timing is like trying to keep the sun from setting. Exhausting and impossible. You might be wondering, why does God's decision feel like betrayal? Why does divine intervention feel like abandonment? Because you've confused familiar with favorable. You've mistaken comfort for calling. You've been so focused on maintaining what is that you've become blind to what could be. But God sees the full picture. He sees the person waiting to love you correctly once you release who's loving you wrongly. He sees the opportunity designed for your gift once you stop forcing yourself into spaces that were never measured for your magnitude. He sees the joy scheduled for tomorrow that today's attachment would sabotage. Remember, Abraham in Genesis 22, called to sacrifice Isaac, the very promise God had given him? It made no sense. It felt like divine contradiction. But Abraham's willingness to let go of what God had given proved he loved the giver more than the gift. And in that surrender, the ram appeared. The provision materialized. The promise multiplied. Your Isaac moment is here. What you're being asked to release is not being taken. It's being transformed. But transformation requires temporary death. The signs have been everywhere, haven't they? The constant conflict that never quite resolves. The exhaustion that rest can't cure. The anxiety that prayer soothes but doesn't solve. The forcing, the trying, the performed peace that crumbles the moment you're alone. You've been on life support with something that heaven declared dead months ago. You've been performing CPR on a corpse, wondering why it won't breathe. But resurrection is God's business, not yours. And He's clearly chosen not to resurrect this. Here's what you don't see yet. This goodbye is not subtraction. It's multiplication in disguise. For every Orpah that kisses you and leaves, there's a Ruth who clings and continues. For every Ishmael that must be sent away, there's an Isaac being prepared. For every Saul that's removed from your life, there's a David being anointed. God is not leaving you empty-handed. He's emptying your hands so He can fill them with better. The grief you feel is real. Honor it. The confusion is valid. Acknowledge it. But don't let either become permanent resonance. Jeremiah 29:11 still stands. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. This goodbye is part of that plan. This ending is embedded in that promise. This death is preparing for that future. You've been so afraid of being alone that you've settled for being lonely in company. You've been so terrified of starting over that you've been dying in place. You've been so scared of the unknown that you've made peace with known misery. But God is calling you higher. He's demanding you trade your Ishmael for your Isaac, your Leah for your Rachel, your wilderness for your promised land. But the trade requires release. The upgrade demands letting go of the current model. The unexpected part of God's decision isn't just what's leaving, but how it's leaving. You expected drama, explosion, a definitive betrayal that would make leaving easy. Instead, it might be quiet, gradual, like watching ice slowly melt. One day you'll realize they're gone even while sitting next to you. The job will still exist, but your anointing for it has lifted. The relationship will continue in form, but be finished in essence. This is God's mercy. He's not giving you a dramatic exit to process, but a gradual transition to accept. You might feel abandoned, but you're actually being advanced. You might feel rejected, but you're being redirected. You might feel forgotten, but you're being forged. 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares, Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old is gone, the new is here. But the new cannot coexist with the old. The upgrade cannot install while the outdated version still runs. God is uninstalling what's obsolete, so He can download what's ordained. Some of you are holding on to people who are allergic to your purpose. You're maintaining relationships with those who are intimidated by your calling. You're trying to minimize yourself to maximize their comfort. But God didn't call you to be comfortable. He called you to be powerful. He didn't design you to fit in. He designed you to stand out. And what's leaving your life now is everything and everyone who required you to be less than what heaven declared you to be. This goodbye will reveal who you really are when you're not performing for approval, when you're not shape-shifting for acceptance, when you're not betraying yourself for belonging. You're about to meet yourself without the masks, without the compromise, without the constant negotiation of your worth. And that person, that true version of you, is who God has been trying to resurrect all along. The loneliness you fear in this goodbye is not emptiness. It's holy space. It's the divine pause between movements in your symphony. It's the sacred silence before the next verse begins. Use it. Don't rush to fill it with inferior substitutes. Don't panic and accept less than what left. Stand in the space. Breathe in the freedom. Let your soul remember what it feels like to be whole without external validation. Psalm 27:10 promises, "Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me." Everyone can leave and you'll still be held. Everything can change and you'll still be chosen. Every door can close and you'll still be directed. Because your security was never in them. Your identity was never in that. Your purpose was never dependent on their participation. You are chosen with or without their choosing. What's coming after this goodbye will make you understand why it had to end. The person you're becoming wouldn't fit in the space you're leaving. The blessing that's approaching needs room your current situation doesn't provide. The miracle scheduled for your next season would be impossible in your current configuration. God is not punishing you with this goodbye. He's preparing you for a hello that will heal every wound this goodbye creates. Think of Joseph in Genesis 37-50, betrayed by brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison. Every goodbye felt like death. But each goodbye was positioning him for prime minister. Your goodbye is positioning you for power. Your ending is positioning you for elevation. Your loss is positioning you for levels you couldn't reach while carrying what's leaving. The decision has been made in heaven's courts. The verdict has been rendered. The season has shifted. And fighting it is like arguing with gravity. Exhausting and pointless. Instead, surrender to the wisdom of the one who sees tomorrow while you're still processing today. Trust the God who's orchestrating your disappointment into your destiny. Believe that this unexpected goodbye is actually an expected upgrade disguised as loss. You don't have to understand it all right now. You don't have to have the next step figured out. You don't have to know how you'll heal or when you'll trust again. You just have to let go. Open your hands. Release your grip. Stop resurrecting what God has decided should die. Stop watering what God has uprooted. Stop rebuilding what God has demolished. Your cooperation with heaven's decision determines how quickly your promotion appears. Some of you are about to discover that what you thought was your foundation was actually your ceiling. What you thought was security was actually a cage. What you thought was love was actually manipulation dressed in affection. This goodbye will feel like death because it is death. Death to false version of yourself. Death to settling. Death to accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. But remember, chosen one, Sunday resurrection requires Friday crucifixion. Your Sunday is coming. Your resurrection is scheduled. Your comeback has already been written. But first, this goodbye must be completed. First, this death must be accepted. First, this divine decision must be honored. In the days ahead, you'll want to reach back. You'll want to check in to see if maybe God changed his mind. Don't, like Lot's wife in Genesis 19:26. Looking back will crystallize you in place. Forward is the only direction that holds your future. Forward is where your healing lives. Forward is where your purpose breathes. This goodbye is not your conclusion. It's your commencement. It's not your finale. It's your foundation for something far greater. You're not losing. You're being loosed. You're not being abandoned. You're being advanced. You're not being rejected. You're being refined. So chosen one, take a deep breath. Square your shoulders. Lift your head. This goodbye that God has decided, this ending that heaven has scripted, it's not your defeat. It's your deliverance. Walk through it with dignity. Exit with grace. Leave with the full knowledge that what God is removing was blocking what he's releasing. Your tears are temporary. Your pain has a purpose. Your goodbye is actually your breakthrough in disguise. Trust the process. Honor the journey. Embrace the transition. Because on the other side of this goodbye is a hello that will make every tear worth it, every question answered, every wound worthwhile. The decision has been made. The goodbye is initiated. But remember this, chosen one, You're not saying goodbye to your destiny. You're saying goodbye to everything that was delaying it. Walk forward. Heaven is waiting.